every now and then, there is a video that surfaces on XRP that hits all the nerve system. And this one is right up there with the best of the best. And I don't think anybody can explain it except for this guy. The name of his channel, I want to get that for you. So it's very important that this guy gets the credit that's deserved. Is Crypto Phoenix. He doesn't have a lot of subscribers yet, because now we're going to put the Mel Carmine effect and we're going to blow this guy up, because that's what we like to do. We like to push people up, not push them down. Okay. Pushing people up is a lot better than pushing them down. And you got to give credit where credit is due. I've seen people in my space, for example, without mentioning any names, but some of you guys know who they are. And there was a specific guy that was being pushed by a couple of guys out there by the name of Blockchain Backer. You know who he is. Blockchain Backer does a great job if you like, technical analysis. I personally am not a fan of technical analysis videos. I like the Blockchain Backer. I think he's extremely talented. And I met him at some of the events out there. And what happened was basically I said, hey, those guys that were pushing you, the minute you got bigger than them, they stopped pushing you. That's not what Mel Carmine. If I see this guy here blowing up to 500,000, I'm going to try to get him to 1 million, because I live in a abundance mindset, not in a scarcity mindset. Unfortunately, you know how people are out there. I'm not blaming them. Okay, great. Everybody's out for the clicks. I'm out to own the whole entire platform. Tube 1776 at one point will become a reality when that time comes. When God says it's time, I will know, and it will become a reality, and we will bring down social media down to its knees, because it's going to be modeled after our founding fathers, and there's going to be a constitution. Everybody's going to know exactly what you're getting up front, and it's going to be the best thing ever. When that time comes, we'll know. We're working on a few things, and hopefully if they manifest, which I believe they will, then that will give me the rest of the cash flow I need to get that project off the ground, unless there's somebody out there that would like to part with $100,000 to be part of the next YouTube, which will have 3 billion, 4 billion people on it within 24 to 36 months. How do I know that? Artificial intelligence told me so. And artificial intelligence is pretty intelligent. But anyway, let's get started here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Unfortunately, I do not feed the beast, the communist beast. And so I don't have a premium account, and I don't want to pay $29 a month to you-know-who. And so you're going to see some commercials. I want to pause the commercials. As soon as the commercials are over, we'll hit the record button again. So it'll be a little bit choppy, but you'll get the whole thing. It's a 27-minute video or so. It is worth watching. Listen, fasten your seatbelts. This guy's extremely, extremely talented. And what you're about to see goes right in line with what I believe as well. I thought it was going to happen gradually. He sort of snapped me out of that sort of thought, if you will. And he says it's got to happen quickly. And I believe he made his case with Mel Carmine. Hopefully he'll make his case with you. And he's talking some big numbers that have to get bigger as we go. Pay close attention. Take some notes. Here we go. Let's share the screen. And let's blow this thing up.
Okay, guys, no video. Why XRP must start at 45K, 72K from day one. And it's going to be an administrative repricing, and we're going to go, and we're going to leave no doubts about it. So let's start. Why 45K and 72K makes sense as a study valuation, as I've been saying for a very long time. If a corridor must support trillions in settlement capacity, then each XRP must carry massive economic weight. Why it must start high and not climb gradually, as many other people are saying. A gradual climb cannot satisfy corridor activation, RLUSD issuance, liability compression, institutional throughput, balance sheet neutrality. The system needs full density on day one, not market discovery. This is why repricing is administrative, it's instant, it will be binary, either it is or it's not, and it's non-market related. Starting at 45,000, 72,000 is not moon math. It's the density required for the architecture to turn on. Why this will take the crypto scene by storm? Because the repricing event is a discontinuity, it's not a rally. Most of the people, crypto world, expect charts, candles, linear moves, cycles like the Bitcoin halving, and no, the repricing is a systemic recalibration. This is a reset, a balance sheet event. It's a collateral density reset, and you have to understand it in a collateral manner. It will look like XRP jumped from $1 to 45,000 or 72,000 or whatever the system decides it needs to be.
What if you could make a song using only your voice?
There's that commercial. While the commercial plays, and we can skip right now. Here we go again. Bear with me.
Now, this will break every mental or whatever the system decides it needs to be repriced. It will be overnight without any trading activity causing it. Now, this will break every mental model in crypto. And people will say, this is impossible, this violates market logic, this is manipulation. How can something be one day today and $100,000, $70,000 today? But the answer is simple, and you guys already know it, because markets do not set collateral density. Institutions do. The system in this case is what will dictate the repricing, the price, the real collateral, the value density of XRP. And this is why crypto scene will be shocked, and the casino will close forever its doors, because the event is outside the domain of trading, and they can't comprehend something that they've been. It doesn't understand what XRP really is, what collateralization really is. Even some of you, you guys are waiting for XRP, will be surprised. XRP must be priced at institutional collateral density, not market speculation density. If you guys go and watch those guys saying $10, $3, $3.50, by the end of the year, $12, $20, $300. In other words, XRP cannot be $1, XRP cannot be $10, XRP cannot be $20, XRP cannot be $50, XRP cannot be $100, XRP cannot be $1,000. Those numbers can't support the architecture. Very expensive, as Yoshitama Kitao said, means tens of thousands. Exactly the 45,072 range I am proposing. So why 45,000, 72,000 is the safe starting zone? Look what I say, safe starting zone. Not that is a capped ceiling, not it will be frozen, not that it needs elasticity and no like that. It's the starting point, right? The repricing. Below 45,000, and if you guys been watching my videos, you know corridor throughput will fail. And RLUSD cannot scale, collateral pools will break, liability compression will become unstable. Above 72,000 to start, it's unnecessary, it's over collateralization, it's excessive density, it's not going to be needed in the beginning because it's a safe starting zone and imbalance between corridors. Now, so the safe activation zone is 45,000, 72K, depending on corridor size and reuse multiplier. This is why the system will start there. not 5K, not 10K, not 20K. Those numbers are too low for a tier 1 activation. And I'm going to explain in deep with example. The crypto market price is irrelevant. Institutional price will be set administratively. You like it or you don't like it, I don't care. Get it in your brains. This is why the repricing event will shock the crypto scene, because it will violate every assumption people have about how price works. Why Kitao's comment implies a high starting price, not a climb, a gradual climb. Kitao knows that corridors cannot open at low prices. RLUSD cannot scale at low prices. Liability compressions cannot run at low prices. Balance sheet neutrality cannot be maintained at low prices. RLUSD is what will give liquidity, and if we need liquidity, you cannot get liquidity at a low price XRP. Therefore, XRP must start at full density. What did I say? It must start at full density, not at $1, not at $3, not at $5, not at 3, 30, 50, 100, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. Not climb to it, not discover it by the markets, and not rally into it in a linear, gradual event. The markets are irrelevant for collateralization. So why corridors will arrive all at once and why is needed at a very high density. And we're going to go very deep. Corridors must all arrive at once because they cannot function at low density. And activating them one by one will collapse the system through liquidity fragmentation, imbalances, and regulatory failure. A very high XRP density is then required because each corridor depends on the same collateral pool architecture. And that architecture cannot operate unless XRP is already priced at institutional settlement density. They're interconnected. You cannot have one corridor with one price, too low, too high, not one opening, then everybody will try to use that corridor and then it's going to have bottlenecks. So no, all the corridors must arrive at once, all at the same. They're going to have each collateral pools. In the beginning, each will have like a minimum amount of.
If you're running your own business.
Oh, again, commercial. Sorry, guys.
Assuming it's going to be like that. Minimum amount of XRP, I'm assuming it's going to be like that. SBI, Santander, and Standard Chartered in UK. Let me give you an example, right? Imagine this 3 tier 1 corridors. SBI Japan to Philippines, Santander Europe to Latin America, and Standard Chartered UK to United Arab Emirates. Each corridor requires deep liquidity, tight spreads, predictable settlement, collateral pools with sufficient density, right? Imagine all are like Vanguard, SBI, they have everything. They can do everything. They need so much liquidity that it's crazy. What happens if only SBI activates first at low density? Assume XRP is still $1 or $100. SBI tries to activate its corridor. Immediate failure will occur. Their pool can only hold, let's say, 20 million, 30 million XRP, right? Then they're going to have a small amount. At $1, that's 20 million, 30 million capacity, right? This is an example, right? I don't know what their collateral pool, their pool will be, but I'm giving you an example. So at $1, equals 30 million in capacity. At $100, that's 2 billion, 3 billion capacity. But SBI needs hundreds of billions in throughput. So SBI corridor cannot settle, cannot compress liabilities, cannot maintain spreads, cannot maintain balance sheet neutrality, cannot have enough liquidity. Their corridor collapses on the first large flow. What happens if SBI activates at high density, but Santander does not? Let's assume XRP is repriced at 45,072K, but only SBI activates, only one corridor, not all at once. SBI corridor now works perfectly, but Santander corridor is still inactive. Immediate systemic imbalance occurs. SBI corridors have high density collateral pools. Santander corridors have zero density. Liquidity routing becomes asymmetric because there's only one side of the equation moving money, the other one is not. RLUSD flows becomes bottleneck. Why? Because there will be only one side moving RLUSD and generate issuing RLUSD. Cross jurisdiction settlement becomes impossible because there's not enough corridors open. CCPs, clearinghouses cannot clear multi-corridor flows. Auditors cannot sign off on balance sheet neutrality. And the system becomes unstable and practically useless. What would be the cross-border settlement with only one or two corridors available? This is why partial activation is impossible. What happens if SBI and Santander activate, but Santander Charter doesn't? The standard charter, not Santander. Standard charter is in UK. Now, two corridors are active. One is not. What happens? Immediate regulatory failure occurs. Multi-corridor settlement requires synchronized collateral density. Liability compression cycles requires all corridors online. RLUSD issuance requires full corridor mesh. They all need to be interconnected. Basel risk model requires uniform collateral density. And clearinghouses require complete corridor availability. They have to check everything. So if tier one corridor is missing, compression cycles break, reuse multipliers fail, because there's a chain. A receives XRP to bank B, that's the same to bank C, bank D, and so on. Remember that I gave the example? Well, if one corridor is missing, you cannot have the reuse multiplier chain. So that's another example. RLUSD cannot scale, and the entire architecture stalls. The system cannot run with missing corridors. That's why the corridors and everything will start at once. And if you start like linear, one at a time, slowly adoption, nothing works.
We're going to build the
He's right.
platform.
He's
that
absolutely
every
right.
single company. $70 million.
Why all corridors must arrive at once? Because the architecture is interdependent. Collateral pools, liability compression, RLU issuance, routing, corridor mesh, reuse multipliers, important, settlement loops. You will not have cross-border settlements because there's only one corridor open. These components only work when all corridors are active simultaneously. If one corridor is missing, compression fails, routing fails, RLUSD issuance fails, clearinghouses fails, regulatory compliance fails. So, all corridors must activate at the same moment, not gradually, not sequentially, not linearly, not one by one. This is why the repricing event is global, it's not local. Am I clear? Do you understand now why everything will happen at once? If XRP is underpriced, the pools fail, the corridors fails, compression fails, RLUSD cannot scale, settlement fails. So high density is not optional. It's a mandate. It's a must for the system to turn on. So this is why 45,072 70,000 makes sense as the starting density, not the destination. Let me repeat it, not the destination, because I don't know how long I have to repeat this and people come and say, you cannot have a fixed price. It's not a fixed price, guys. This is the starting point. So, give you the final example, the one that kills the debate. If XRP is $1, no corridor can activate. If XRP is $100, no corridor can activate. If XRP is 1,000, no corridor can activate. If XRP is 10,000, corridors can activate but fail due to insufficient density. If XRP is 45,000 to 72,000, all corridors activate, have enough liquidity, have enough leverage, and they all will activate simultaneously at the same time, and the system now becomes stable, interconnected, and cross-border settlements, and everything can happen at once with no issue whatsoever.
Now, I'm going to pause it there for a second. I'm going to make a comment. In other words, in order to move all of the money, and I've always said all of the money, the XRP will, not maybe, it will decouple from the rest of the herd, which is on the market cap. We're going to allow them to keep that toy and allow them to think that they have the big swing and you know what, okay? But the reality is when they got to go, in order for the world commerce, this new world that's coming, for it to work, all the banks have to be in alignment that the number has to be a big number. Otherwise, it doesn't work. This makes all of the sense in the world. I listen, I'm going against what I said months and months ago and years ago. I said, it's going to happen gradually. No, this gentleman is right. Yes, he's got a smaller channel. That don't mean nothing. The guy's very highly intelligent. He's showing you on paper exactly why it has to be a big number. Let's continue.
This is why Yoshitama Kitao said XRP must be very expensive. Corridors must arrive all at once. Repricing must be administrative. Repricing must be instant. Repricing must be high density. He said we're going to use it in everything we can. There is no other configuration that works. And I don't want to hear none of you saying, but now it's Canton. Canton doesn't compete with XRP. How many times I have to make this statement? If anything, Canton competes with the likes of Quant. It's not a monetary rail. So stop associating Canton with XRP. Because one idiot puts Canton is going to kill XRP, you believe that it's the same. 45,000, 72,000 is the safe activation zone because it is the only density where all Tier 1 corridors can activate simultaneously without collapsing under global load. Below 45,000, corridors fail. Above 72,000, corridors destabilize. Between 45,000 and 72K, the system is balanced, compliant, and survivable. My assumption it should be around 72K, not 45K. 45K will be too limitless, very on the limit. But they need enough RLUSD. So 45,072 is not the ceiling, it's the activation zone. The system is not ending there, okay? The system will continue, the corridors will keep expanding, PQ will keep increasing, so the price will need to increase. And this is critical because it prevents every future misunderstanding about repricing. And a lot of you say, you're repeating too much, you're repeating too much. Well, it happens that I repeat too much and you still don't get it. That's why I repeat that much. It's not the fixed price. It doesn't end at 72K, okay? And I'm going to continue repeating. If you don't like it, move somewhere else.
Thinking about it now,
Maybe skip that.
The activation zone, 45,000, 72,000, comes from RLUSD throughput requirements as well. Every tier 1 corridor must support trillions of RLUSD, and we've seen it in our last videos, of settlement volume. Not millions, not billions, trillions. And this is the real constraint. XRP must be repriced high enough that its total market value can collateralize the RLUSD settlement throughput. And this is not an assumption, it's a hard requirement of the system. Why 45,000, 72,000 is not the ceiling, it's only the starting point? Because RLUSD throughput grows after activation. Now pay attention, so you stop repeating it's a fixed price. Those listen and pay attention. You're going to pay any attention on this video is this. RLUSD will continue growing after activation. So more corridors, more jurisdictions, more settlement volume, more RLUSD will be issued, more compression cycles, more institutional adoption will occur. As RLUSD scales, XRP density must increase to maintain the balance sheet, the compression stability, the corridor symmetry, and the settlement throughput. Settlement is key here. So 45,000, 72K is the activation zone, not the ceiling. The ceiling is higher, determined by future RLUSD throughput. More adoption leads to more settlement volume, leads to more RLUSD throughput. When more institutions will join, more payments will flow, more Forex conversions will occur, more cross-border settlements happen, more clearinghouse compression cycles will run, more treasury operations route through RLUSD. This increases what? The throughput, not the circulating supply. Very important to understand. RLUSD is minted and burned dynamically based on settlement needs. So the process is institutional adoption, then RLUSD throughput, then XRP density requirement. RLUSD throughput is what forces XRP repricing. RLUSD throughput must be collateralized by the XRP's value density, not its quantity. Okay? So this is key. RLUSD throughput will continuously growing as more adoption, more institutions, more countries. XRP supply always stays fixed. Therefore, XRP price is the only thing that must rise to maintain collateralization in the equation. Okay? If you continue on the need of RLUSD for throughput, then it must come from XRP, but you cannot increase XRP. So the only thing that you can do is increase the price, the value density. So this is why 45K, 72K is the sweet spot, not the ceiling for the starting activation. As RLUSD adoption keeps growing, XRP density will increase and must increase further for the reason that I just explained. So, example, SBI plus Santander plus Standard Chartered UK. So, let's say SBI corridors run 1.7 trillion RLUSD. Santander corridor run 1.2 trillion RLUSD. And Standard Chartered corridors run 900 billion in RLUSD. That's a total throughput of 3.6 trillions in RLUSD that these three institutions need. Now, add that remittance rates, Forex desk, CCP compression, treasury operations, and real world assets, and more and more that it starts like adding into all these operations. So now the total throughput easily reached 5 trillions and 10 trillions needed in RLUSD liquidity. Correct? Are you following me? Now XRP must be repriced high enough to collateralize that throughput that now increased from 3.6 to 10 trillions. And you need to have elasticity too. You need to have extra. So this is why more institutional adoption equals more RLUSD throughput and equals higher XRP density. That's why it's not a fixed price. Am I being clear enough?
These radios are not.
Hate these commercials.
Why RLUSD throughput grows? Why RLUSD throughput grows exponentially? Institutional adoption, it's not linear. When one bank joins, its counterparties join, its forex partners join, its remittance partners join, its treasury partners join, its CCPs join. This creates a network effect like an avalanche all at once. If you come with all your buddies to the party, right? You don't come alone. So RLUSD throughput grows like 1, then 3, then 9, then 27, then 81, then 243, and so on. So this exponential growth forces XRP density moving upward. So why XRP must start at 45,072K? Because RLUSD throughput begins in the trillions on day one. Not millions, not billions, trillions. If XRP starts at $1, it's impossible. $100, it's impossible. At $1,000, it's impossible. At 10,000, corridors collapse. At 45,000, 72,000, as starting point, the corridors can activate safely, had enough sufficient liquidity, enough issuance of RLUSD, and everybody is happy. And there's no rough problems running out of RLUSD, not enough liquidity, interconnection issues, reuse multiplier counterparties, disappearing out of the system, not having enough. So this is why 4572K is the activation zone and not the ceiling. And by the way, you know why everything must happen all at once. All the corridors must happen all at once. It cannot be linear. It cannot be a market-related repricing. So why XRP density increases after activation? I explained that. Once the system is live, RLUSD adoption grows. It will be in the trillions. Throughput increases. More corridors join. More jurisdictions connect, more clearinghouse cycles run, more treasury operations route through RLUSD. And this forces XRP density higher. So the long-term density zones looks like 45,000, 72K for the activation repricing, 72, 100K will be early expansion zone. Probably it will take a few. And when it's a global settlement and the whole world is running, which I don't know when it's going to happen, don't ask me when, probably will be in the 100 to the 200 and so on. It depends on how big, how the institutions, how corridors, how throughput and settlement requires. So now, don't ask me the timing or when the XRP will be 100K or 200K or whatever. I don't know. Nobody knows. But it will happen. And I explain you how the process is.
Anyway, you got the gist. Let me just go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And probably not going to do any commercials on this one, guys. But I can tell you that that's a video that excited me a lot, simply because it makes sense. How can you go ahead and move all of the money on earth and not be at full capacity. Why go half cocked? Now, I do want to add something to this that I think you will resonate with. We're still in the shakeout process. What does that mean? Well, that means that they might play around with that $20, $30, $40, $50 price tag and see who bites, because the people like this guy and me and a lot of you guys out there that believe in the bigger number, and we know what it means to move all of the money and what it needs to be at. We've come to that conclusion, I think, with this video. I think because of that, we understand that there's going to be a shakeout still for people who don't believe, and the guys upstairs want to get it cheap. Every time you sell your XRP and you put it back into play, the big boys are gobbling it up just as quickly as you're selling it. Don't do it. This is how we lose the game, where we don't let the meek inherit the earth. And you want the meek to inherit the earth, because we're at that cross point right now in history. And so do not do a hustle, do second hustles, jobs, start an internet business, do whatever you got to do. Stay in positive cash flow. Never, ever give up your XRP. Not financial advice. This is what I think. Okay. So I think that they're going to park it at maybe $10 and see how many people are going to say, oh, yeah, because they don't believe, because they believe in the market cap. Bullshit story. I'm telling you, I'll tell you again, XRP will decouple and it will not be on the market cap. Is it going to still be there? Probably, so that these guys can have a kumbaya party, whatever their delusion is. That's fine. But the reality is, you're going to go to the market cap and you'll see that all of the coins exist, except for maybe XRP, XLM, IOTA, all the ISO tokens will decouple and move away. Why? Simply because. And when that happens, I can tell you emphatically, that day, let me shut this phone off. Tell these people not to call. But anyway, needless to say, that's my thought. And we might be there for a few months because they want to see how many takers they're going to have at the price tag of between 10 and $50. And I believe they're going to get 98.888% of all the fools out there. And then when these prices manifest, because we do have to move all the money, and it's not going to be just XRP, there's going to be a lot of other ones that are going to come into play somehow, some way, and they are also going to be some big numbers. This is not one particular, token takes it all. But I thought that was a very interesting video. This guy needs a lot of respect. 7,540 subscribers. I don't know when the channel was started, is not enough. Let's blow this guy up. I think he deserves the respect. And I'm not going to do any commercials on this one. Okay. So QFS1776.com/shop. This is the commercial. Okay. Carmine'sGold.com. You need $50,000 worth of silver or gold. I could deliver still right to your door. If you need much more than that, I could deliver as much as you want. $1 million worth, $10 million worth. If you want to take your 401k and cash it out and put it into an IRA for gold and silver, we can do that for you as well. Okay. So contact me at 786-704-8817. If you need a large amount of XRP, the minimum is 10,000, the bare minimum. But if you need a large amount, like, $1 million, $500,000, 100,000, 50,000, I'm your guy that can get you that. I got brokers all over the world, sub-brokers. People say, oh, well, Mel, why do you need sub-brokers? You can go to Coinbase. Yeah, try and get customer service at a Coinbase. See who answers if you have a problem getting your money off of the exchange. Nobody. Okay? So the rich people like customer service, and our rates are just as competitive as these other bozos out there that offer zero customer service. Dear Mr. President.net, dear MR President.net. Go watch the movie. You're all worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You know you are. We prove it in the movie in spades. Okay. And we're gonna upload this video right now as is. No commercials, no nothing. This was the commercial. And stayingalive.com, alive with 2 E's, stayingalive.com in Cape Canaveral. We're going to do another quantum summit. QuantumSummit1776.com. All the links are down below. Okay. Quantum Summit is going to be mind blowing. We're bringing life extension technology, ground zero being Cape Canaveral. You want to absolutely be there. Okay. This is monumental stuff. We have life extension technology, scientific team out of Japan. I can't talk too much about it. I'm under non-disclosure, but I will tell you that we're moving expeditiously towards making that happen. If it doesn't happen this year, oh well, it's going to happen next year, but we're trying to push for no later than mid-November. And with a little bit of luck, we can have yours truly, both 107 and Nino Rodriguez at that event. It's that historic. We'll see you guys on the next one.